Yeah, hold on a sec. We'll get to that in a minute. Check this out. So we've got this Galax Msi Car Case. I don't know if you could drive this. I don't know what kind of drivers this has, but it's got some really neat Hall of Fame gear inside here. We've got a couple of 980 ties, and we've got some really awesome Hall of Fame memory and the Hall of Fame SLI bridge. But this is a Mr. Sin mod. It's from his FUXK line, which stands for Future Luxurious X like concept and kinetic. That's the name of this whole line of Mr. Sin's modifications of stuff here. So this one here is called the HOF Evo, and it's this Evo car with the really cool case, with a really cool computer on the inside. Let's move along to the next one. I don't know how much more I can talk about the same fucking car. All right, so this one actually looks so familiar. This is the Tri-Stellar case from Deep Cool, and it's been heavily modded by Mr. Sin, part of his FUXK line. It's got the Mr. Captain water cooling block in here for the CPU, and it's got some really cool HOF stuff in the top and some SSDs, and it's got the Hall of Fame gamer memory as well. It's actually kind of neat. I'm impressed that somebody has been taking the this case and doing some cool stuff with it. This one here is called BB5. It's a Star Wars themed case after the new movies. All right, moving back to some car stuff. This one right here is the Ferrari of all cases, I guess. I don't know. The car itself actually has nothing to do with the computer. It just looks cool, and it's got this cool keyboard, which is actually color themed to the rest of the case, with the keycaps being red and all. All right, so we got a couple of 980 Ti's in here, but what's interesting about this one is water-cooled, this one is air-cooled, and I'm not sure what purpose that was, other than maybe we're putting more load on this one, or maybe it's just for aesthetics. It didn't look right with the extra water block on this graphics card, but it looks kind of neat with the nice, 90-degree bends on the cooling lines. It's got some Hall of Fame memory in there. It's a really nifty red gamer memory. And the reservoirs down the bottom. I like this one a lot. Actually, it's an art piece more than a functional thing that you keep in your home. All right, keeping with the car theme, we've got this one is all white, and it's actually modeled after the Levin Truno, the Panda Bear Levin Truno, the AE86 from Initial D. The case itself is called Initial D. This is also from Mr. Sin after the FUXK line. You can see the really nifty reservoir with the double helix spiral tubing in there, which looks really neat, and it's got a couple of 980 Ti's as well, also the HOF and SLI with the really neat Hall of Fame SLI bridge. It's got the HOF memory up top, and it's all put onto an MSI motherboard. It's really nice with this very sleek white. This here looks like a graphics card in the front, and that's what we first thought when we looked at it, but then upon closer inspection, this is just the shroud from one of the 980 Ti's that's been removed and then put on the front just for more aesthetics than anything else. Okay, so this one actually is kind of neat, but this is a League of Legends case mod, but it's by a modder called A Song of Ice and Fire Mods. And it's kind of interesting because I'm looking at this going, game, maybe that's supposed to say of Thrones, but it's a game of League of Legends, and I think it's kind of hilarious. It also has some, it's got a GTX 980 inside, it's not the TI, and it's got the HOF DDR4 memory inside along with the Z97 G1 Sniper. It's got a GTX 980 inside, it's not the HOF line, but it does have the Hall of Fame DDR4 memory, also water-cooled, water block running there. Not exactly the brightest inside the case, but it looks good enough. I like this one. I like the aesthetic. I'm not a big fan of LOL, but the aesthetic of this and the detail on the front and the scratch marks and the score marks in the front are well done to give it that wear and tear kind of look. We're moving on to the Mr. Lau line of work, and one of the things I've noticed about all of this guy's stuff is that he's got all of these spiral tubes that are running in here. This probably takes forever to get those tubes just, to get the spiral just right to get that perfect coil aesthetic. And then you've also got this 180-degree bend here, goes into the GPU and then up into the reservoir and then over into the water block for the CPU. This one's also running a 980 HOF. It's not the TI, but it's just a GTX 980 HOF, and it's got the B150 Gaming K4 motherboard, and it's got DDR4 memory, and it's got an HOF 256 gig SSD right here down in the front, and the big fancy radiator in the bottom. All right, another classic Mr. Lau case with the spiral tubing. We've got two sides there. It's also got the Hall of Fame 256 gig SSD. This one here does have, this is the GTX 980 Hall of Fame as well, and it's got the gamer DDR4 memory from Galax. And then all of this gets passed through this 480mm radiator. That is intense for some serious cooling. This one can handle the heat. All right, this one's kind of neat. It's got, looks like a 480mm radiator in the bottom, twin reservoirs. It's got the really snazzy gamer memory in the top from Galax. It's also got 2 Hall of Fame 980s in SLI. Doesn't have the HOF bridge, which is kind of sad, makes me cry. But otherwise, this is really well done. Curves of all this really awesome music in the background. I'm excited. I'm going to start dancing to the... Oh, they took it away from me. I didn't do that. It was not me. All right, we got a couple of Vocaloid characters in this one here, which is interesting. We got Hatsune Miku down in the bottom. I have no idea what this one's name is, but she's just hanging out, you know, chilling on the tubing of the radiator. Wonder if that's really warm on her butt. Anyway, this got also got a 480 millimeter radiator in the back. It's got the gamer memory, and it's got a Galax Hall of Fame 980 Ti, all water cooled, sitting on top of an MSI B85 G43 gaming motherboard. I really like this red and black aesthetic. It's kind of nice. All right, this next case is kind of neat. It's kind of hits a nice little soft spot in my little wonderful love life here. I love snakes, so the aesthetic of the snake skin across the entire outside of the case, except for the mesh up top, and then the cobra line up in the front. Makes me think of a car, but I don't like the car, so I'm just going to think of the snake, because the snake is awesome. This one's called the Night Hunter, and this one's got a really nice etched piece of plexiglass here. It's all darkened down, and you can barely see it in this kind of light, but it's really cool. It's got the snake here. It's got a really cool symbolism in the middle, and then it's got another snake up top with some feathers and some other nifty stuff. I really like the etching, and it's the more I look at it, the more I really like this aesthetic. Otherwise, we got the really cool glowing red lights on the inside, contrasted with the white gamer memory. It's got the venom sacks, the twin venom sacks for the Cobra up front here. It's a smaller radiator up top. It looks like it's only a 240, and then it's got the water block for the CPU and the GPU, and the GPU looks to be I'm going to say it's a 980. All right, this whole next line of cases is going to be from Kunmod. He doesn't give him any fancy names. He just says, hey, this is the case. And you probably didn't recognize it because I did some awesome stuff to it. So this one is from TJ11 from Silverstone, and it's been modified. It looks like it's got 2 240 millimeter radiators in the bottom, and it's got the reservoir on the back side here. It's got an MSI motherboard. It's got the white aesthetic across the whole thing. It's got 2 Hall of Fame 980 Ti's, and it's got the Hall of Fame memory. Also, you can't see how awesome it would be when it's on because it's not powered up right now, but this all glows, and it's really neat. You can see it later if you were here. Sucks to be you. All right, moving along, we got the Inwin D frame with all this heavy aesthetic modifications to the inside with the tubing, and the tubing is supposed to match the metal frame of the case. So we've got the water cooling coming through the 2960s, both from Galax, and we've got the gamer memory in the bottom, also glowing green when it was all lit up. It's got a couple really cool things down here that you can barely see. It's got the gray and the green coil. I'm not sure what that's for. It just looks cool. Got the reservoir up front, and then it's a 480 millimeter radiator in the top, and it looks like it's got another one on the bottom, because when you're producing this much heat, you gotta cool that stuff, man. Just, you know, keep your parts colder than, you know, melting temperatures, and you'll be okay. And it's got the Hall of Fame SLI bridge, which I actually really like the aesthetic of these things. They're kind of nice. Okay, next one up, we've got the PK813, which kind of reminds me of the Star Wars episode PK412. Aren't you at your post? Well, this guy is at his post, and he's got 4 980 GTX graphics cards in magical SLI. Look at that Hall of Fame 4 SLI bridge. It's so nice. All water cooled. All of it. All of it. All of it. It's got a really big radiator in the bottom. It's got Hall of Fame DDR4 memory running at 2400. It's 4 gigs times 4. That's a lot. That's 16 gigs of memory. CPU block is nifty right there. We've got the reservoir. It's got a little bit of a smoky flavor to the plexiglass, so you can't quite see in there as well as you could, but it gives it that. It almost looks like the entire inside of this case is filled with water. It's kind of a strange. It's mesquite. Yeah, there we go, mesquite. This also has an M.2 256 gig SSD. You can't quite see it, but it's in there somewhere. Trust me. I told them to take this whole thing apart. I want to get footage of it. They're like, no, no, no. Ruins the aesthetic. You can't take a picture of it when it's open. Like, okay, fine. Can't do that. It also has the Galax Hall of Fame 1,000 watt power supply in the bottom, which is pretty awesome. All right, this is the Cosmo 2. I'm sorry, Cosmos 2. And just trust me when I say that there's a lot of stuff. It says so on this placard that there's stuff inside here. It is glowing, so I know that there is at least a fan and some LEDs. But according to this placard, it says there's a 960 gamer ×2, which means it's got 2 960 GTXs. It's got the gamer 4 memory. That's DDR4 gamer memory, 4 gigs ×4 at 2133. And it's got a Cooler Master Cosmos 2 case, and it's a Cooler Master V1000 power supply in the bottom. all built on top of the it's the ASRock X99WS motherboard, which we can't see. The next one here we've got is the 900D. This is the last one from Kun Mods. It's got the Galax Gamer DDR4 2133, 16 gigs in there, and it's got GTX 970s, 2 of them, and it's got 256 gig SSD, some Corsair stuff, and the MSI Z170 M5 motherboard. Okay, this is actually kind of neat. This is a retail case that you can buy for all of 13,999 RMB. You can do the math, look it up. It's called, what is it, Baidu? Is that the Chinese Google? You can look it up. You can figure out what exactly that translates to in dollars and see if they will ship it to anywhere else other than China. Anyway, this is from a company called Mlong, which actually means like M Dragon. So this is the Dragon case. This is a really cool tank. It looks like it's got a couple of really snazzy radiators or graphics cards up front. Can't really tell you what's in there, but it's cool. There's an actual computer inside. It's got a plug in the back, and if you're really, really lucky, you'll get the one that's motorized, drives around, and breathes fire. All right, saving the best for last. This one isn't really a computer case. This is just a really awesome piece of Lego. I lied. It's actually a computer case. So not only do we have these really cool helicopters and some space-age looking flight ships flying around and some Osprey, it's also got a Titan sitting up front. That's not really a Titan. That's just the shroud for a Titan, which is scary and sad that you pulled a graphic. I wonder if there's a Titan on the inside. I don't know. Oh, wait. Yes, I do. It doesn't. It's got a 980 Ti Hall of Fame on the inside with a 256 gig SSD. It's got gamer DDR4 memory. It's got 8 gigs of that in there. And it's actually sitting on an MSI Z170 gaming ITX motherboard. And that's, you can see right through this top here with the water cooling blocks coming up and down. You've got the water cooler block for the MSI motherboard and the CPU. And the graphics card's got to sit underneath the bridge. And there's a power supply in there somewhere. And then you've got this cool monitor that's not turned on, but it's supposed to plug in somehow. And you get all of this stuff. And if you're really, really lucky, this thing will take off and fly around your room. It even comes with the hovercraft.